Ravens Wrap is sponsored by Bud Light, Holiday Inn Express, the Ocean City Golf Club, Comfort Inn, Russell Street Report, the original Green Turtle, and hosted by the Blue Ox Bar and Grill.
In April 1959, Art Wall won the Masters, edging out Carey Middlecoff and Arnold Palmer by finishing birdie, 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 par birdie. 1 month later, Ocean City Golf Club celebrated the opening of their first 18 holes. That course has been transformed now into one of the most scenic golf layouts on the East Coast. Come experience 36 of the most beautiful and challenging holes you'll find anywhere. Ocean City Golf Club in Ocean City, Maryland.
Welcome back. It's the original Green Turtles Ravens Wrap show here on Comcast Beach TV and Delmarva's Rock Radio 93.5 The Beach, broadcasting from the Ravens room at the Blue Ox with Ravens News 44. Give yourselves a hand.
Hey, Mike, is this the karaoke segment?
I believe it is. Yeah,
karaoke segment. Okay.
Harry's going to do a little karaoke for us, and he's going to sing, the Seven Nation Army song for us, right?
Everybody can do that.
Yeah,
right?
well, that's true. We are brought to you by our friends, of course, at the original Green Turtle, the Blue Ox, Bud Light, the Comfort Inn Gold Coast, the Ocean City Golf Club, Holiday Inn Express, Geico, and our friends at jctickets.net. And don't forget, we invite all Ravens fans to come on down to the show every Wednesday here at the Blue Ox. We've got chances for you to win Ravens jerseys tonight. We're giving away a Joe Flacco authentic Nike jersey. We also have tickets to give away for future Ravens home games. So come on down and give yourself, I should say, a chance to win. All right, now is our opportunity to do a little Q&A with the audience, and we'll bring our first member of the Roost up for your question.
All right, nobody's discussed our Frank Walker. Carey Williams. If anybody want to discuss, is he the real deal? Or what are we going to do? Is there a backup available, or did we just go with him until they pick his bones apart?
Okay, I'll take it, I guess. Carey Williams is obviously struggling, but if you look at where he is when the ball's thrown and when the receiver catches the ball on him, he's kind of in the ball yard, so to speak. I think his technique is really sloppy. If you watch him backpedaling, he's backpedaling to the side. He's got this long, lengthy frame to him, and I think that his change of direction skills are really questionable if he gets away from his technique, and that's what he's obviously doing. I personally think that Jimmy Smith and Carey Williams should flip roles, and Jimmy should be the starter over there, and then when let Carey come in and when they're in the nickel and dime packages. So
I guess the question then would be, Tony, why is that the case right now?
Well, I think that Jimmy struggled a little bit too in that first part of the game yesterday. He settled in and delivered a big hit on Deion Branch also. That was a key play.
Right.
So I think if you remember back to last year, Jimmy Smith really started to come on towards the end of the season when he got more playing time. Mm-hmm. I think the time's now for him to get more playing time.
I think the one thing he noticed being at the game was he had his back to the ball, and it's really tough as a defensive back for you to cover. And I saw 3 or 4 occasions where that happened. And like you're saying, his technique is just really off at this point in the season.
I didn't think he didn't give up the big play to Brandon Lloyd, who's a vertical threat, and watching you guys kind of conferring about that, John, the technique just needs to be cleaned up. I think it's fixable things. People aren't running by him. So my best friend mentioned Frank Walker, too, when we talked before. I wouldn't go that far. I think Carey Williams is better than Frank Walker, but he just needs to clean up the technique.
Well, another thing, too, is that he was hurt with his hip. He didn't spend a lot of time in training camp really working through. So I think that he's still working through some of that. I think he'll get better, but I do think that it's time for Jimmy Smith.
At least he can tackle. He did have 10 tackles.
Sure. Because they threw his way 10 times. Or 10 completions.
They were pushes out of bounds. They counts the tackle.
All right, our next question.
The last drive before the half, when Brady comes down and marches down the field, the very last play for the touchdown, our pass rush is non-existent. The 2 guys that were there were on the ground, and the offensive linemen were sitting on top of them. Brady had a window so wide open, even I could throw you a ball. So what do we do to fix it?
12 men on the field.
I don't think it would have helped.
No, that's a good question. And you think about one guy that's sitting on the sidelines right now, it's part of their 53-man roster, Sergio Kindle. And if that's a game he can't get in because he's supposed to supply some speed on the outside, I don't know whether there's a role for this guy on the team.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't think the pressure was terrible, though. I mean, Brady was certainly, we just gave you some stats. What was it, 45 yards passing in the fourth quarter?
Yeah.
That was a well-executed
41.
play. I mean, you're not going to, I mean, he is a Hall of Famer. I mean, he's one of the best ever, and it was a good play call, and LAB was in no man's land, and either Gronkowski or Edelman was going to be wide open. So you're not going to get him every single time. Ravens adjusted. You know, you wouldn't say this was a stellar defensive performance, but in the fourth quarter, it certainly was down the stretch. So.
Yeah, holding him to a field goal and then getting 2 key stops. I mean, Steve, you've seen a lot of these games, obviously, before against the Patriots, but they seem to do a really good job, though, of pass protecting for Brady. They give him time. I thought, too, I saw some plays where we had some blitzes. Webb came in, Ray was blitzing. They give credit to their backs. They even little Danny Woodhead was picking up the blitzes there, and we just weren't getting there.
It's a tough matchup for us when you look at Edelman for us, you know, and Wes Welker. I mean, those guys are tough to cover. I mean, you could be right on them, but you know, when you only have a 2-yard window to close, you know, it's very tough for them. All they got to do is fake right and go left, boom, and the ball is there. But you know, I'm especially down on the goal line. When you don't have that much territory to cover, I think you know you really should light it up. But you know, it's easy for me to say. You know, there's a lot of matchup things that are going on in there. You know that the naked eye can't always see. There are a lot more going on.
And Tony, we talked about this before the program. You know, we've got a lot of run stoppers on the defensive line. I think the time has come with it being a passing league that we may have to give a little bit there, but we may need to start getting some defensive linemen that could get after the quarterback. We just simply do not have that on the roster right now. So in answer to your question, fixing it, I don't know that we necessarily can fix it with the personnel we have unless we blitz, but again, we'll leave ourselves potentially vulnerable.
Yeah, that's true. That's something that Ozzy's going to have to fix in the offseason. But I think going into this season, they thought Paul Kruger was going to be a better pass rusher than he's been so far, based upon what they saw last year. Well, maybe his spot is to come in as part of the nickel and dime package, only in pass rushing situations. Pernell McPhee probably isn't at the point he was this time last year because he too was overcoming an injury. So I think he'll get better as the season goes on.
Got another question from the Ravens Roost audience.
Is there any light to the end of the tunnel here for these officials? You think is ever going to end?
You know, here's the deal with the officiating. I just think that it's an excuse. You know, I just think it's convenient. We've always complained about the officials. You know, we're never happy with the officials. So now that we have scrubs, I guess, as officials, we can Scabs. That's what I was looking for. Now that we have scabs, you know, it's easy to blame the outcome of every play on these scabs. And we need the real officials. Well, didn't we hate the real officials? Does anyone, when the officials are announced?
We hated them less, though. I think that was the difference.
Look, the deal is both sides. This is like playing football on Woodlawn, right? The field's all rocky and it's got broken bottles in it, and there's divots in the ground.
I grew up in Woodlawn.
I know, so.
Me and Bobby V.
So what are you going to do? You're either going to complain because there's broken glass in the field, or you're just going to play because both sides have to play with the bad field. Well, both sides have to play with the bad refs, and I don't think they're that bad. If anything, they're letting them play a little more. Now, they may not be consistent, but in general, they get it right.
Tony, you followed this obviously very closely with your website, the RussellStreetReport.com. You know, it's the NFL wants to win this, though. I mean, they are far apart on a lot of the issues. The NFL wants to win this, and obviously the refs themselves, they want to win this for themselves. So you could take a look at the product on the field and say these replacement refs aren't getting it done. There's no question about it. It's embarrassing. But, you know, yeah, the onus is on the NFL. But at the end of the day, if they're that far apart on issues, I don't know that we're going to get to a resolution anytime soon.
Well, I'm going to mention something that John, or dovetail on something John said before. When you have these guys that are supposed to be the professionals hanging in the balance, and you've got these guys that we're criticizing every day, because they're there, we always want the other pack of crackers. We want that pack of crackers that we're used to, right?
We want the original guys we hated.
Right, the original guys we hated. So I think a lot of that's going on right now.
The premium saltines.
Yeah, but the thing, my biggest criticism is how they let the games get away and they let the sidelines control them and intimidate them so much. And that every play these guys are whining, whether it's the Ravens in the case of
because they know they can do it.
You talk about Pernell McPhee, you talk about Kerry Williams getting better. This is 3 weeks. So these guys, you know what they need to do? The NFL just needs to say, you know what, guys, because you guys are a bunch of whiners, the officials, the real ones, deal's over. We'll talk after the season. You're not coming back. Everyone else, you're dealing with these guys. Period. End of story.
Steve, though, and I hear what John's saying.
Then it goes away. Then there is no more issue.
Steve, I hear what John's saying, but to the point, though, that some of them don't even know the rules, that they have to go upstairs to the box. These games are going longer. There's a lot of confusion out there. They end up having to huddle almost on every call that they make.
But they get it right.
They got to. Yeah, but John, it's not. But okay, if the NFL is going to talk about integrity, then okay, if replacement refs, fine. But they need to know what they're doing. Half of them don't know what they're doing out there completely. That's the problem.
All right, so our regular guys.
I mean, one of them got a penalty against Red when it was Atlanta.
I understand, but how about the guy that couldn't flip a coin? All right, he's a Hall of Fame referee now. The guy couldn't do a coin toss, right?
Well, I think the game management style is what they're really hurting right now.
How about Hockey League?
And they do make mistakes, and that, in public when they announce the wrong teams and that kind of thing, that makes them look worse than they actually are. But like last night, the game didn't end until 5 after 12. That's a long game. When you look at that.
Well, just something that I heard today when I was listening to Sirius XM radio. They were talking about the negotiations with the officials. And apparently the NFL officials are starting to cave on this whole pension thing that's been a deal breaker.
Yeah.
And I've heard just today that there may be a chance that the regular officials might be back in uniform this weekend.
Wow. Well, I've also heard it's a cumbersome process in getting everything approved that could take a few weeks. So I guess we'll see about that.
These guys are part-time flag throwers. So they know some rules.
It's a little bit more than that, though, John. In a billion-dollar industry, they're pretty integral and part of the game.
Let the dudes play the game then. Yeah. Let's just play without rules. Pull out the swords and start Spartacus. All right, it's going to be Spartacus now.
Well, that went out with the last CBA that they just approved. Everything's different now. I will say this though, guys. In coaching, we just have a little time left here. But I've always coached in football and basketball. I tell my kids, don't let it come down to the refs making a play one way or the other. And you do have to take that mindset. You can't blame a game on the refs. But I will say this though, when you have even teams that are just as good and it comes down to the end, a ref's call can make a difference there. It's one thing if you're playing the Cleveland Browns. It's another thing if you're playing the Patriots. A call by a ref could make a big difference.
So if the New England Patriots guy, Arrington or whatever, in the secondary doesn't, he just catches that floater that Joe Flacco puts up in the fourth quarter, which winds up being the game-winning field goal. Patriots win the game. We're not talking about the refs.
But we got to wrap it up here, and we'll be back for our final segment coming up. The Ravens Wrap Show on Comcast Beach TV and 93.5 The Beach.
Ravens Wrap is sponsored by Bud Light, Holiday Inn Express, the Ocean City Golf Club, Comfort Inn, Russell Street Report, the original Green Turtle, and hosted by the Blue Ox Bar and Grill.
Welcome to the Comfort Inn Gold Coast. Conveniently located just 1 block from the beach and adjacent to shopping at the Gold Coast Mall and the movie theater. Newly renovated and open year-round with a marvelous bayfront view. Visit us on the web at comfortgoldcoast.com and see our hot deals and great golf packages, or simply call our direct reservation line to plan your stay.